Hey guys, this is Mike, the Detroit Borg, with a look at the new Barnes & Noble Nook Tablet. Now the tablet joins an entire array of Nook products that include the Nook Color, the original Nook, and the Nook Simple Touch, which is their touch-based e-reader. Now this really is a spec upgrade to the Nook Color, and it comes just in time to take on the Kindle Fire. So we're going to take a look at what's inside the box, and then we're going to go through a brief tour of the operating system, and we're going to compare this to the original Nook. Briefly covering the specs, we have a 1 GHz dual-core processor, 16 gigs of internal storage, and 1 gig of internal RAM. So let's take a look around the box, and you can see it's quite large and maybe not as eco-friendly as the Amazon box, but that's okay. The packaging is quite nice. On the back, we have some of its major features highlighted, including the fact it has a microphone, has a 7-inch Vivid View touchscreen display with a resolution of 1024 by 600, can play back 1080p video, and has internal 16 gigs of internal storage, which is expandable thanks to a MircoSD card slot, which is not available on the Kindle Fire. Now, just like the Nook Color and the Amazon Kindle Fire, this is Wi-Fi only. There is no 3G version available. Alrighty, to get into the box, we're just going to sort of twist it so we can lift up the lid, and there is our Nook Tablet, sort of in a foam cradle. Looks like we have the booklet down here. And this is just a simple guide to show us how to use it. So we're going to get by without that. And we have some silicate to keep it dry. In the compartment down here, we have a USB, micro USB cable. And we also have the power adapter. So this is basically a foldable wall wart. The prongs fold out with a USB connector on the bottom. All right, taking a look at the cable and pulling off this nice little rubber band. We have a, looks like a micro USB cable and with some Nook branding. In fact, it looks like the Nook logo is backlit. So we're going to try that out and plug it in and see how it looks. Alrighty, so the entire Nook is wrapped in plastic Apple style. So we have a little tab here to help us open it up. So we're just going to peel back. Doesn't quite slide out, so we're just going to peel it back. There we go. Now it looks very familiar if you're used to the Nook Color. If not, let's just take a close look around it. So you can see it has this sort of plastic band. It looks like it's metal, but it's not. Wraps all the way around the edge. We have our volume controls up and down. We have our power button on this side. On the front, we have this curved plastic bezel. And of course, we have a flush glass panel with this notch on the side, which is characteristic of the Nook Color and now the Nook Tablet. Back here, we have the micro SD card slot, which sort of pops open. You just slide the card in there. And on the top, we have a standard headphone jack along with a microphone. Looks like it's sort of been notched in the bezel. Now, before we proceed, it wants us to fully charge the Nook. Let's just plug it in, and you can see it lights up. Now, it lights up in amber when it's charging and turns green once it's fully charged. All right, so plugging in the Kindle also turns it on, and it brings us right to our setup screen, and you'll notice we're getting a little strobing here, and that's just the fault of the camera. That's not the Nook doing that. So we're going to proceed anyway and try and work through that. So thank you for choosing the Nook Tablet. We are sure you will love it. Please take a moment to set up your device, and you can play a video, so let's just quickly take a look at that. Okay, so we don't need to see that. We're just going to skip ahead. This is just our terms and condition. We're going to agree to that. And we are in Eastern Time. Next. All right, the next step of business is connecting to my router. So we're going to go to our time capsule and type in my password. Now the next step is to log into my Barnes & Noble account. All right, registration is successful. Click OK. Now we have a getting started screen, which will give you an option to start discovering, which thanks to some videos will show you how to use your Nook. You can start shopping, which will take you to the store, so you can start buying books, and the store now includes movies and music, or you can just start exploring, which you can do so by pressing the home key, which is the Barnes & Noble N logo. Now looking at the basic user interface, we have several home screens on which we can organize icons. Down here we have what Barnes & Noble calls the daily shelf, which is basically all your apps and books sort of lined up on the bottom, and you can scroll through them. Now if you want to add any of these to the home screen, all you have to do is drag them, or let's do a little farther, and you can position it to wherever you want. You can go to one of the other pages right there. Or if you want to drop it back to the daily shelf, just drop it back there. Pretty straightforward. And down here we also have our status bar, which indicates the time, charging status, and whether we're connected to Wi-Fi. And if you tap on it, it brings up our quick settings. So here you can see your battery percentage. I'm only at 43%, so it's a good thing I'm plugged in and charging right now. We're connected to Wi-Fi. We can mute the audio. In fact, we see a little mute icon appear when we do that. Auto rotate screen, so if you want it to stay in landscape mode, you can turn that off. I guess you can't do the home screen in landscape mode. But for example, if you are in a book and want to stay in landscape mode, you can select that from this screen. You can also change the brightness here. So let's scroll all the way up or all the way down. Let's just leave it at that. And you can press the settings icon to get more. So we have a lot of options here. Also down here are shortcuts to the Barnes & Noble Nook Store. So we have books, newsstand, movies, music, and apps. So if we click on books, it takes us right to the Barnes & Noble Nook Store. So from here we can start shopping. Of course, everything is organized according to certain categories. But if you want to go right to the entire bookstore, just click Shop Nook Books. Takes us to the full version. And we can see, everything by category, and I already see Steve Jobs' face, so let's click on that. So we have general and miscellaneous biography, and I see Steve Jobs down here, so let's click on that. So here we can buy it for $14.99, try a free sample, or share it. I can't share it right now because I don't own it on Barnes & Noble. So let's go ahead and purchase that. Confirm. So while that's downloading, you can scroll through here and see a synopsis. And you can see the ratings. If we tap the customer reviews tab, you can see the customer reviews appear. And you can also like it on Facebook. We have some editorial reviews, so if you want some professional analysis of the book. Let's go back to overview. And it looks like we're downloaded, and we can click read. Now this is just giving me a brief tutorial on how to read a book on the Barnes & Noble Nook Tablet. So of course we can tap or swipe in order to change pages. And if we want to open the reading tools, we just tap in the center of the page. So let's go to start reading. Again, just swipe or tap. So you can go back, you can go forward, back, forward. And I can see that the formatting of this text isn't to my liking, so let's click on the center. Brings up our reading tools. So you can see you have a scrubber here. And if you drag your finger across the scrubber, it shows you what page you're dragging to. So page 444, chapter 33, Pixar. Let's just scroll back. So this is page 20 of 642. Now if we tap content, this brings us to our table of contents. So this is all of our chapters. Now if we go to find, this gives us a search tool. So let's just search, I don't know, Apple. And it gives us every page in which the term Apple appears, and it gives us a brief snippet of the text. If we tap on one of them, brings us right to that page. And we can also share, so we have some social networking options here, so we can recommend. We can do so either on Facebook, on Twitter, or recommend to our contacts. I don't have a contacts list in here, so we're not going to do that, but you get the idea. We can also rate and review, so we can rate and review this on the store, or we can do so on Facebook and Twitter. And we can post our reading status, again, to Facebook or Twitter, and letting them know where we are in the book. And of course, the most important thing here is text formatting. So here we have a lot of options. We can change our font size. We can change our fonts, which is quite nice. We have quite an assortment of fonts here to pick from. Now another great feature is themes. So you can do the daytime theme, which is default, nighttime, which reverses the text, black background, white text, which is how I prefer to read on LCD screens. You can do gray, which basically brings down the brightness of the background. Butter, which I'm not sure what the difference is there. It looks like it's a little darker. Mocha. And sepia. We can also change our line spacing. So you have some default options here, so wider, medium, and narrow. We also have our margins. So I think I like the widest or the thinnest margins. And we can turn publisher default on or off. So I guess that's the formatting by the publisher. Now what you cannot do here is pinch to zoom to change text size. I wish you could do that. You can do that with some other touch-based e-readers. And we also have quick access to the brightness, which again is very useful, particularly on an LCD screen. And we also have Discover, which will bring us to recommended titles. So basically anything related to Apple and Steve Jobs. Of course, if you rotate it sideways in landscape mode, it automatically switches to landscape mode. And this is kind of interesting. It doesn't do a side-by-side. It basically runs the text longer across the width of the screen. Now, when you rotate the screen, you also see this lock icon appear. If you tap that, it will lock it into place. So anytime you rotate the screen, the button automatically appears. Now, I also have some options in the text. So if you tap on Imbued, you can highlight the text, add a note, share, again with social features like Facebook and Twitter, look up in the dictionary, or find other instances in the book. So let's just do the look up. Takes us to the dictionary. That's our dictionary definition. Or you can tap Google. It'll take you right to the web browser and do a Google search for you. And if you tap back, it will take you right back to the book. And we can exit that out. Now, because the Nook is primarily an e-reader, it places emphasis on that. So now that we've been reading the book, we can tap the book icon, and it brings us right to where we last left off. Now, another thing is the Nook button, which brings up the quick navigation bar. So this will take us to a variety of areas. If we tap the home key, it will take you home. Or if you tap the Nook button again, it will take you home. And from the Nook screen again, if you tap the Nook key, brings you back to the quick nav bar, and you can go to your library. So here's my complete library, and you can see I have 15 books, and the reason it knows that is because I logged into my account. We also have magazines, which I have none of, and that will take you to the store if you want to add. Newspapers, same thing. Apps. So this will take us to the App Store, and Kids, which is a section dedicated to kids, and some of these are kids' books. Now we also have My Shelf, and here we can go to My Shelves, which contain my content, My Files, which contain content that I've side-loaded, such as PDFs. We can also do Lend Me, so if somebody wants to share a book with you from the Barnes & Noble store, they would appear there. And we can go to Archived Items, which I'm not sure what that is. I have no archived titles, so we're going to have to figure out what that is later. Now next up is the shop icon, which of course will take you to the Barnes & Noble Nook Store, which we already looked at earlier. We can also launch search from the quick nav bar. Now this will give you the ability to search your Nook, search the web, search the store, and a variety of other things. And if we just search Apple, now the search goes into a variety of locations, so it searches our library and there's one result right below that. It also searches the store, and it looks like it only gave us 5 results, but if we want to see more, we just tap more. We can also search the web, and we can search Wikipedia. You can also change how this searches by tapping Show, and you can search by all results as we are right now. Search only the web, search our apps, search the music player, shop, or search our library. So if we go to the library, there's the one result. Web, there's basically shortcuts to search on the web or search Wikipedia. And search apps, and we don't have any apps that relate. So let's go to web, and let's just search web. So of course brings us to apple.com, and that's a perfect time to take a look at our web browser. So of course we have apple.com, and if we rotate it, it goes right to landscape, and we can pinch to zoom. It's pretty quick. So let's just tap on the iPhone 4S and see how the HTML5 performance is, because this website has some nice HTML5 animations. So you can see we have some HTML5 animations which don't necessarily look the smoothest, but they do work. Now there are some media links here, and if you tap on them, unfortunately they will not play back. The Nook doesn't have the capability of launching a video app that will play this back, and neither does the Amazon Kindle. So that's a limitation in terms of web browsing. Now, unfortunately, the Nook does not have tab browsing like the Kindle Fire. So if we tap this icon here, you can open a new window. Opens the same link into a new window. If you want to see all your windows, just tap that. You can see them all. And of course, I have multiple versions of that same page. If you want to close them, there you go. Now, of course, we also have apps, so we have a shortcut to our apps, and here we can see the apps we already have. So Hulu Plus, Netflix, Nook Friends, Music Player, Email, My Media, Pandora, Sudoku, Crossword, Contacts, and Chess, and all of these loaded because I downloaded these on the Nook Color, so they automatically transfer with my new account. Now let's go to Netflix. So it launches Netflix, and it's basically like the Netflix app on many other devices. You can click play, automatically loads the video, plays in landscape mode. So of course we have a little scrubber here to jump to another point in the episode. Pause. Now in order to control the volume, you basically use these physical buttons on the side. Now you can see even in the Netflix app, you still have your book icon to take you right back to your book. So again, their priority is books. And the last item is settings, which will take you to the full settings panel. Now something I want to take a look at is movies and music, because unlike the Amazon Kindle, Barnes & Noble does not sell music or movies electronically. So what they offer are apps. So instead of launching music or movies that you can purchase, instead you can download apps. So of course you have Netflix, My Media, which is my local media. So if I want to load media into my Kindle, we can do so that way. So let's tap on that. You can see My Media largely consists of pictures and the default video that they launch at the start of the tutorial. But of course I can sideload my own media, but I can't get it from Barnes & Noble Store. Now, there isn't a dedicated YouTube app for the Nook, but you can go right to the mobile version of YouTube and watch content that way. So I've logged in and I can just go to my videos and we'll launch the Amazon Kindle Fire unboxing and review video. Click play. And it loads the video.
What's going on, guys? This is Mike, the Detroit Borg, with a look at the...
Now the Nook also has a built-in mono speaker, and you can play back music while doing other things. So right now I'm using the Pandora app, and in fact you can see I have the Pandora icon appear in the lower left corner. So I can continue doing whatever I want, and in order to control that, or jump back to the Pandora app, just tap there. It lets me know what's going on. If I tap that, brings me to the Pandora app. There we go. And pause that. Play. I wish it was a little more detail. I wish there were some media controls that popped up when you press that instead of having to jump right back to the app. Now, as I said, Barnes & Noble actually has two tablets. It's just that the newest one is labeled tablet and the oldest one is labeled Nook Color. But they share identical designs except for the color. So the color is a little different. Of course, this is the Nook Tablet. It's a little lighter in color, but we have the exact same design. So we have the same mono speaker in the back along with this notch, along with the SD card slot. Both of them have power buttons on the left-hand side and volume controls on the right hand side. Now what's new on the tablet is a microphone, which they've accommodated with this little notch in the bezel. Now on the front, both of them have these Nook buttons, but the tablet button is a little more raised. Now another detail is that the Nook tablet has a seamless piece of glass, while the Nook Color has a divided piece of glass. Now the big difference is in internal specs. So we go from a single core 800 megahertz processor to a dual core 1 gigahertz processor. And we also go from 512 megs of RAM to 1 gig of RAM. And we go from 8 gigs of internal storage to 16 gigs of internal storage. Both were upgradable with a micro SD card slot. Now the Nook tablet also has a higher quality screen. In fact, if you look at them side by side, this is definitely a much brighter and cooler screen. It's a full IPS display, while this is not. In fact, if you look at an angle, you can see it discolors quite quickly. Not so with the tablet. And the tablet has a LCD panel that's laminated to the glass. So there is no distance between the glass and the LCD screen. This is very similar to the iPhone 4 and the iPod Touch 4th generation. Now, the Nook Color didn't really have a lot of depth between the glass and the screen, so it's not a really big gain, but it certainly makes a difference and makes this a much higher quality display. Now, the other major difference here is price. So the Nook Color is $199 and the Nook Tablet is $249. But for $50 more, you get a much more capable device, including a much higher quality IPS display, which is important on a tablet that handles multimedia. So if you want to play back high-def video, you both need the processing power and the screen quality. The Nook Color doesn't even have the Netflix app, can't play back YouTube in high def like the Nook tablet can. So really, this you might want to consider for an e-reader, and this really for a tablet. But if you want an e-reader, I think the best one is the Nook Simple Touch, their touch-based e-ink reader. I think this is the best on the market, beating even the Kindles. So that's going to do it for me, guys. Thanks for watching. I'm going to have a comparison between this and the Kindle Fire in an upcoming video, so stay tuned for that. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you again in the next video.